I hope it gives you all the vindication you need, because I will not be doing this again. Seriously though, I will not be doing this again. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. When I say I do not regret making this video, nor do I regret anything I said. However, what I don't like being is loud and wrong. And I figured that I owe it to you and myself to revisit this video. Now, for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't, my name is TK, your resident lunatic, and today we are watching the 2005 adaptation of the book Pride and Prejudice, starring Keira Knightley and some other dude.
Matthew Macfadyen for Succession.
I don't recognize him. One of my professors at the time, Dr. Lopez, was really big into Victorian and Edwardian literature. Now, this is where this whole idea started because I was very wrong about the time period. But in my defense, I didn't double check because I didn't want to spoil myself. Joke's on me for taking a teacher's word at face value, I guess. And I swore up and down that if I ever died before my time, I would fight Jane Austen in the afterlife, right after Flannery O'Connor, who is still on my list, by the way. I'm not taking that one back. When I told my mother this, she seemed really frustrated, and now that I've read some of your comments, I definitely understand her frustration a little bit better now. Keira Knightley is so beautiful. Like, there's just something so effortless about the way she looks. There's no comment here. I just wanted to look at her for a minute. God, she's got the jawline of frickin' Aphrodite.
Dear Mr. Bennet, have you heard? Netherfield Park is let at last. Do you not want to know who has taken it?
But as you wish to tell me, my dear, I doubt I have any choice in the matter.
Now, several of the comments provided some much-needed context between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet's relationship, especially with Mrs. Bennet's anxiety and Mr. Bennet's apathy. Mr. Bennet really isn't helping with his attitude, and if that's the case, then I don't think this movie was necessarily fair in its portrayal of Mrs. Bennet. But then again, I've never read the book, so maybe it's quite similar. I like how alive spaces feel in this movie. It's one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of a lot of modern movies. A lot of people just seem to be milling around and ignoring the things going on around them, or they're just staring at the main character. Out of curiosity, I looked this up, and it's for one of two reasons. One is, of course, the over-reliance on CGI, because it's much cheaper to correct things in post rather than reshoot, but also extras apparently just don't get paid the way they used to. As a matter of fact, some are lucky to even get paid nowadays. Okay, well, at least he's charismatic.
I mean, I can read, of course, and I'm not suggesting you can't read out of doors.
Oh, he's so awkward, bless. Now, there was a lot of scuttlebutt in the comments saying that I kind of derided a lot of the characters for being socially awkward. And while I can give some credence to that criticism, I will also say that I couldn't really think of a better word at the time, because there is no singular word for purposefully leaving out information for the sake of saving face. The focus of most Regency dramas is reputation and how you are perceived. Now, this causes a lot of starts and stops and a lot of awkward situations, no matter how charismatic the character actually is. If I really had to think about it, I'd say the only truly awkward character is Mr. Bingley. And to be honest, in general, I find social awkwardness to be a rather endearing quality, rather than one to be made fun of. Because if we're all being honest here, socializing is a skill that has to be learned and honed, and sometimes that could be really friggin' hard. Also, how tall is this man? Good lord. Matthew Macfadyen is actually 6'3". The only reason why he looks short in Succession is because Nicholas Braun is 6'7".
At her beautiful little design for a table.
When I first saw this movie, I was pretty sure this painting was a reference to a previous adaptation, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Can anyone maybe shed some light on this? Either way, it's pretty good foreshadowing of who the lady of the house is actually going to be in the end.
Maybe it's that I find it hard to forgive the follies and vices of others, or their offences against me. My good opinion, once lost, is lost forever.
Admittedly, I did take this for just plaintive angst at first, but looking back, if I had paid a little bit more attention, I probably would have known right off the bat that Mr. Wickham was lying.
I always wish to give them as unstudied an air as possible.
Oh, believe me, no one would suspect your manners to be rehearsed.
The way all the joy goes out of her eyes. little bit hungover.
You should take into account that despite your manifold attractions, it's by no means certain that another offer of marriage may ever be made to you.
Is he negging her right now? Only a little bit. He's actually kind of right. Oh, I can't read that. Oh, is he leaving? Why did you let your sister talk you into that shit? Come on! You know you shouldn't have let her talk you into leaving. Your sister's an asshole. As varied as opinions could be on this video, no one disagreed with my assertion about Caroline.
You're right.
No. Dang, in Edwardian times, you really just stayed at people's houses for months. While this is still very true, I now realize that I had the timing wrong, and these were probably pieces commissioned by the Darcy family. I have always been a little bit enamored with, like, Victorian and Edwardian design. Everything is so deliberate.
5 daughters, Lizzie. Tell me what else will occupy your thoughts, and then perhaps you will understand.
I don't know, Mama. By then, it will be World War I, and we won't have to worry about this bullshit. This is not gonna end well. See? Now, I understand that I could have easily looked this up, but does anybody help Lydia out of this clearly not great situation? Or is she an example of a casualty of this kind of screwed up social system? Speaking of haunch of pork, I'm making a pork roast right at this very minute. My door is open. I can smell it. I am starving. About 30 minutes after this video, the power went out and the roast never finished. I had a brief breakdown and we went out to eat instead.
They're still what they were last April. Tell me so at once. My affections and wishes have not changed. But one word from you will silence me forever. You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. I never wish to be parted from you from this day on.
Well then.
While I wouldn't consider myself a Jane Austen convert, I did genuinely enjoy this movie, despite some of the assertions made in the comments. I can't control whether or not people watch a whole video and what judgments they make, but that is something I do want people to know. I did genuinely love this movie. It is beautiful, and if you love it, then you love it. However, I will admit that now that I've seen this movie, I do understand the issues some people have with presenting Regency England as this fantasy world of glitter and manners where everyone knows where they should be and their only problems are who they're going to fall in love with and or marry, because sometimes those aren't the same thing. But we'll save that for a Bridgerton video. If and when I do it, there's no guarantees. But what I can say is that I get it now. Even if I never read it for myself, I definitely get it. Please like if you like this video. Please subscribe if you really like this video and would like to see more. If you really, really like me, you can support the channel on Patreon, where I post full, uncut, uncensored reactions the day before I post them on YouTube. If you would like to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, or TikTok. With that being said, thank you for watching. Stay weird, lovelies, and happy eating. Also, fuck Twitter.